May we have the roll call, please? And also, I want everybody to make sure, after listening to the last meeting, I want everybody to make sure they talk into the microphone. If anybody gets to the microphone on the podium, I want you to tilt it down, speak into the microphone, and our recording doesn't pick it up unless you do. Okay, roll call, please.
Chair Hogendijk.
Present.
Roger Burton.
Here.
Danny Wilcox. Dwayne Owens.
Here.
Eric Carlson.
Present.
Deanna Schott Grace. Van Sands. Here. Kevin Kirkwood.
Here.
Mike Buck. We have a quorum.
Okay, and do we have a staff report on the Board of County Commissioners' actions pertaining to matters of this board?
Sure. Two things. One, the building department is now requiring contractor licensing. That's something that most other kind of communities and counties do in the area. That's something that actually started the 1st of February. So they have that process and procedure in place. It's something they've been talking to the contractors about since about middle of last year. So they were all well aware of it. The board passed that, I think it was the end of last year, but it took effect on the 1st. The other thing was Spring Valley Ranch number 9. They reviewed that and continued it to tomorrow so that they could review the subdivision improvement agreement as well. So that's been included in their packet, and they'll take a look through that also. Those are the two items.
Okay, we don't have any consent agenda items. At this point in time, we can take citizen comments if anybody wants to talk about something that's not in front of the Planning Commission tonight. If there's another issue or something you want to talk about, this is the point that you can do it. Okay, none heard? Meeting minutes? We didn't have meeting minutes for this one.
We did not have any minutes in the packet this time.
Okay, great. The public hearing process, this matter requires this body to conduct a quasi-judicial hearing, which means the body must first find facts and base its decision upon the application of the adopted regulations, standards, and criteria and the competent, substantial, and material evidence received during this hearing. All testimony must be competent, on topic, and not repetitious. So at this point, I'm going to open the public hearing for the Prairie Ridge Buffalo Ranch Special Use by Review, case SU-19-0089. And before we do that, there were several of us that were not at the last meeting. And so we need to state for the record that we have reviewed all the material from the last meeting and the material for this meeting so that we're up and current on everything. And I am one of those, and I did do that.
Yeah, I, Eric Carlson, I was not present, but I have reviewed that same material.
Roger Burton, I was not at the meeting, but I listened to it at the same time that it was being held, and I reviewed that tape again and the documents that were presented.
Okay, that said, we've got the staff presentation, and we've heard this once before, so we're continuing this meeting from the last one, and there's kind of an update that staff is going to give us on that.
Hi everyone, I'm Laura, land use planner. I will briefly go through the presentation and give you guys updates that we have since last meeting. So we're hearing tonight Prairie Ridge Buffalo Ranch SUR, case number SU-19-0089. It's located for eastern of our county, like east of Highway 24, east of Madison. This is a request for a special use by review. The proposed use is agritourism on an ag zone parcels. We are talking about two different parcels, 23001 and 22995 County Road 201 in Lyman. The applicant is Ray Tiemann, here present at this meeting. Pre-app and community meeting happened back in 2019. The application submittal happened in 2020, and you guys heard this presentation back in November 15, 2022. It was continued to a certain date, and this date is today. The proposed use encompasses 3 different uses, so to speak. Buffalo tours, this is the main proposed use. It's going to be happening like evening, 6 to 9 p.m. from June to August. Buffalo hunts or harvests by appointment only from October to March, and no more than 100 per season. The applicant is also proposing to have special events happening in the property by appointment only any time of the year, and no more than 20 events per calendar year. The applicant also states in his application that no more than 100 guests will be allowed at once in the subject properties, regardless of the use. We can recap the zoning map. We're talking about ag properties, and the surrounding area is all ag use. I think one thing that's a little bit different from the last presentation is like now we have the SUR area as being the whole, like the entirety of the subject properties, mainly because that's where the buffalo herds stay and they move around all the time. But we also defined a primary SUR area where guests will be congregating, and that's like the most intense use we'll have. The SUR area encompasses like more or less 1,400 acres, and the primary SUR area only about 5.7 acres. I've also included in this map the main access to the property. It's coming off of Highway 71 through County Road 98, and then going south to the subject properties. The applicant did not have an access permit from CDOT at the time of the last hearing, and now he has that. So the permit was issued by CDOT 2 months ago, more or less. And you were able to review that. That was included in your packet. We have a site plan for the primary special use area. The metal building is where the guests congregate. It includes bathrooms, handicap bathrooms, also a small kitchen. The proposed area has about 60 parking spots. After guests congregate there, they go do the routes to find buffalo, to see the buffalo herds. They come back and are served the meal at the pavilion. Meal is prepared by the owners. The special events also happen in the proposed primary special use area. The referral responses we had were from Elbert County Public Health, Public Works, Assessors, Building, Mountain View Electric, Douglas County. At the time of the last hearing, we did not have a commercial well permit for this application. That was one of our issues. The applicant was issued a commercial well permit in January 24th, 2023. That commercial well permit canceled the previous permit the applicant had and issued a new well permit number for this commercial use. And then, as I already stated, the CDOT access permit was also issued back in December. Other than that, we had no objections for this application. So the review criteria for the special use by review applications are as follows. Whether the use is in harmony and compatible with the surrounding area and neighborhood, where the use will have an undue burden on available infrastructure, whether the use will unduly increase traffic congestion or burden the existing road system, whether the use will cause significant air, odor, water, noise, or light pollution, whether all sanitation requirements will be met, whether the use will be adequately landscaped, buffered, and screened, whether the use will otherwise be detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare of the present or future inhabitants of Elbert County, whether the supplemental standards are met for specific uses as applicable. With that, CDS recommends the Planning Commission to make a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners to approve the Prairie Ridge Buffalo Ranch Special Use by Review, case number SU-19-0089. The recommendation is subject to the following conditions. The applicant will be required to remove the public hearing sign within 7 days of the decision by the Board of County Commissioners. The special use by review shall not become effective until all fees are paid, conditions of approvals are met, and the exhibit is recorded. The third condition is that the recordation of all appropriate documentation to occur within 180 days of the Board of County Commissioners' approval. As a staff, we had included a fourth condition of approval last week. The special use by review exhibit shall be corrected as needed prior to recordation. CDS recommends that the Planning Commission removes that condition because we have reviewed the exhibit and it does not need any corrections. The one you saw in your packet is the final one that should be recorded. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you for that presentation. Would the applicant like to make any statements regarding the application? All righty. Do we have any public comments on it? At this point in time, if you want to make a comment about it, pro or con? Okay. None heard. Then public comment is closed. And we go to a board-only discussion. So, any questions?
I do have a question for the chair. I have a question for the chair.
Turn it on. Turn on the mic.
That's what I was on. I'm sorry. I listened to the recording again, which is useful for me because it'd been a while, and I couldn't hear where the discussion about why there was a access permit required for that component of the property that was going to be the commercial / special use area. So did they require a permit?
There was a letter from the county that required them to get the, I don't know if I have that right in front of me here, but
I couldn't.
the county did mention that.
Okay.
It was with the original packet.
So that's why we actually have that.
And I saw the appropriate approvals from the state.
Right. So I mean, the problem with that recording is that we weren't talking into the microphone. So if everybody will make a concerted effort to speak into the microphone, yes. It's the board up here that was the main problem. You know, everybody else we could hear, and the presentation that was done at the end of that, you know, it was almost impossible to hear that until somebody must have put a microphone down next to the computer so that it then came in and we could hear the last like half to 2/3 of the presentation. So that part of it also is of note. But at any rate, any other questions or discussion? I have one. And the Colorado Division of Water Resources letter from 2020 was talking about the well permit. It says information for well permit number 287834 was provided with the referral materials. However, well permit number 287834 is located off the 60 acres of the subject property in Section 11, Township 10S, R57W, 6th Principal Meridian. Our review of our records found well permit 11490 located on the subject 60 acres. And well permit number 490 was issued on May 9th, 1964 for domestic use. And it goes on to state that that's the one that needs to be changed for commercial use. And if we look at the actual permit that was issued, it's not for the one that they mentioned in the letter of 2020. It is well permit number 329607. And I was asking for some clarification on where that well is located in relation to the commercial portion of the property and what water is actually coming from which well. So if you would like to come up to the front and explain what's happening with that.
Yeah, on our property, we have 3 different wells. The one that was originally referred to is the original well that was on the property. That well, and then we've had one additional one put in that feeds to our house and the livestock and such as that. Then when Sean and Carrie built their house, a new well was built, and that's on the 60 acres where they live, and that is where the building is located. And so when I talked to them, I suggested that that should be the well that needs to be the commercial, because that is the well that's actually feeding the building. So they made
So it's
that
actually
switch. And that original one was in 2020. You know, it's sometime past, and we never did have a conversation. This whole process has been kind of long and drawn out, and I knew right from the very beginning which well was on there, but I did not have a conversation with them until we actually put in for the permit, and that was when the decision was made.
What you're saying is that well is going to be a commercial well, but it also handles the residents.
Yes. And see, and that's the part that's confusing to me, what the state's going to require on all that. So, but it is now a commercial well.
Hey, Laura, can we pull up the pictures?
Because we can
the
also,
location
so I don't
of
know
the
if they'll have us switch it over to the other wells on the house. I don't know. Who knows? But we do now have a commercial well on our commercial property.
Okay. If we can bring that up, I'd like to see if we can identify exactly where those wells are at. So where is the residence at that you're talking about, where that well is at?
It's not shown. It'd be bottom.
So it's down there, and that's the well that is going to be feeding all the commercial properties.
And we have no water on our property right there. All of our wells are a mile away. We pump the water for a mile because we've drilled all around there and we've not been able to hit any water. We go south about a half a mile, and so we have a series of 3 wells that are across there.
Okay. Question for staff. If that well is both residential and commercial, is there an issue that you're aware of? Greg?
Not that I'm aware of at this moment. The well permit does state that the use of groundwater from this well is limited to drinking and sanitary facilities as described for a commercial business. Water from this well shall not be used for lawn, landscape, greenhouse irrigation, domestic animal, livestock watering, or for any other purpose outside the business building structures.
Okay, so that basically, looking at this, that particular clause in there makes it problematic that it serves the residents as well as the commercial properties. I mean, it's actually in here, and I've got a copy of it if you want to take a look at it.
No, that's what I'm wondering what the state's going to do myself, you know. I mean, that's a straight water issue, and I'm sure they're going to resolve it. Like I said, we can run the water, because all the lines are tied together on all three of the wells, so we can run that off the others, so I assume that's probably what we'll end up having to do. Because I'm assuming that's a follow-up what the state will, because we have to do the metering and all that kind of thing, so that'll all get resolved with the state. To me, it hasn't anything to do with the spatial use, because the spatial use needs the commercial well, which we have for that. Sean and Carrie may not be able to take a shower, but we will have water for our customers. That's where I think we're at right now.
Well, this becomes problematic. According to this, that commercial well can't serve the residents. So you have to find a source for the residents, or...
Like I say, we do have two other wells. So.
And you could feed one of those to the residents, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they're all tied together.
The water from all of them comes in?
We can adjust, we can change the water from one to the other, so we'll probably have, that's why I say, we'll probably end up having to use that. I don't know what the state's gonna do. To be honest with you, I don't know. Can't answer that question.
Should we make a note in the document that the owner will segregate that commercial well to the commercial building and utilize existing wells for that particular residence?
Well, if they're all hooked together, what happens is you have to have the piping to go from one of the other wells to the residents. And I don't think you've got that at this point, do you?
May I suggest something?
Yes.
Maybe for the board hearing or for the next hearing, we would have the 3 well permits for your guys' review or for the board review, and then we could address the situation.
Just a quick follow-on question. Do you centralize the water from the 3 wells? Is it coming into like a tower or a pond or something?
No. Basically, the 3 wells are down there. The 2 wells are tied together. That go to my house and does the livestock. Terry and Sean's well, because that original well was in my name. Then we changed it, put it back. You know, it's a family deal, so.
Right.
But I wanted that well to end up back on their property, so if they ever sell the well that is currently on their 60 acres is on, you know, is in their name. So that's what we did there. Then when we built the building, we tied the building into that, well, that line there is what we do. I mean, like I said, we're talking like no water, but it's the whole thing is stupid. But that's just the way it is, because, I mean, I hate to tell you how much water we use in there. It's just ridiculous amount. I don't understand this whole mess. I'm about ready to give up, to be honest with you. I'm about ready to tell you all just shove it up your ass and be done with it. Because we've been 3 years trying to do this, and all we're doing is taking a few people out, showing them some buffalo. We give them a bottled water, for Christ's sakes, and we wash a pan. That's what we do. And we flush the toilet. The state's all worked up. You're all worked up. I give up. That's all I'm going to tell you. I give up. Do whatever you want to do. Shut us down. We don't care. I'm wore out. Just flat wore out with the whole process. Don't need to be in the tourism business. County doesn't need my money. I'm done.
If I might, the water well permit references the use of the groundwater from this well is limited to drinking and sanitary facilities as described in CRS 37-92-6021C. And what that says In that same section, it talks about 15 gallons per minute for ordinary household, that's B, and then C is 15 gallons per minute of production for drinking and sanitary facilities. I don't know how the state would view that permit in terms of if it's being used for residential and commercial at the level that they would be using it at. Basically, last time the applicant was here, it was suggested that he go get a commercial well. He went and got a commercial well. So I think it would be, my suggestion would be, perhaps prior, thinking about putting a potential condition of prior to, the board, that we get this resolved from the state water standpoint. Same section of the statute talks about it being allowed for household and commercial. It's literally the next section in it. So, I'd be happy to, offer great advice to him if I had great advice. I think that's something that we can pursue with the state and see if there's something in particular that we can do to allay the concerns that you've raised at this meeting.
So that's something that you want to, as CDS, follow up with the state on?
That would be my suggestion with, perhaps the applicant's help as appropriate. Try to get that done prior to the board meeting that I think is scheduled in 2 weeks.
Okay, then we can have it as a condition that CDS will follow up on this and try and get the state to look at it as both residential and the commercial use.
And or address the water in a manner that works, and I'm not even quite sure how else to say that. It's just, he's got a little bit of commercial, he's got a house there. Is there flexibility in this to call it a little of this and a little of that? I don't know. He's got 3 wells on the property. Is there something that needs to be done with those? I don't know. Happy to help you with that in some way, shape, or form, and it sounds like we need to involve the state in that conversation as well.
Okay, so at this point, I would entertain a motion with that condition for CDS. If someone would like to make that motion.
I have one more question. I just thought of this looking up at the screen. You said you're getting water like a mile away. Are those wells on your property or the leased property? On your property.
They're all on
Okay.
his property. Yeah. He stated that for me.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Would somebody like to make a motion with the condition that CDS follows up on the water issue and resolves it before the Board of County Commissioner meeting?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion that we approve SU-19-0089 with the condition that the issue with the well, do we need to specify the permit number? I don't think so, but that the issues with the commercial well be resolved between the CDS director and his department and the applicant. Does that sound sufficient?
I think we can do it that way, but before the Board of County Commissioners meeting. Before the Board of County Commissioners meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry, before that would be, I'm sorry, the condition, corrected condition would be that before the next Board of County Commissioners that the issue would be worked out or resolved favorably between the CDS director and
Alrighty, he's actually going to follow up with the state, but that's...
Yeah, but
right,
CDS
okay.
is going to work that with the state, so.
Okay, so essentially you've got the condition. The condition would state that CDS is going to follow up with the state to resolve it before the Board of County Commissioners meeting.
Yep, in conjunction with the applicant as well.
Okay, so,
And this will be condition, I'm sorry, this will be condition number 4,
that's right, it's
replacing.
the existing 3 plus an additional 4th. Okay, so we have a motion to approve with the 4 conditions. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have the motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion's carried. So, thank you. I apologize for all the difficulty you've gone through. I know it's been a long time. And I heard you with your comments about Matt and how good he was to work with, and we're going to miss him. But at this point, the public hearing on the Prairie Ridge Buffalo Ranch Special Use by Review case number SU 19-009 is closed. And since all the public portion of it's all done, I want to open a work session for our planning commission here for just a few minutes. So, as you all are aware, we've got the communications on the pay that's going to be coming out, all the spreadsheets on that. So what is paid at this point in time for us is you're paid for each meeting plus round trip mileage to the meeting. And if you go to a site visit, you've got the site visit mileage that is approved for payment. And this is a form I think I've given everybody, but you want them. That's a form that I've used in the past, and I've got an electronic copy of that. I'll forward to CDS so that they can send that out, so you can have an electronic copy of it. It's a way when you're out going and you don't have your spreadsheet with you, it's not open in your computer, you can just jot it down on your mileage, and then when you go back and fill out your timesheet, you can put that mileage in. It's just an easy way I found to use for it. And a couple of other things that are going to be sent out. We're going to send out a copy of the bylaws so that we all have a copy of the bylaws for the Planning Commission. We also there's a packet review process that was done a long time ago that's kind of a helpful thing for the new commissioners, and it shows what you look at in the packet and the things that you need to pay attention to when you're reviewing a packet. And I think I'll probably get that scanned in, and I'll get a copy out to everybody on that. Also, Greg, the list I've got of the commissioners with the names and addresses and phone numbers and everything that we all share is way outdated. And if we can get a new version of that out, since we've got a full commission at this point.
Yeah, with a couple of new appointments, be happy to get that updated one out to you.
Okay, so are there any questions about how we get paid or what we need to do in order to get that done?
No, I don't have a question. I just have a suggestion, okay? Prior, when we used to get paid for it, we had a spreadsheet was sent to each of us that we filled in and marked which meetings we were at and what our round trip mileage was and any additional mileage. I would suggest that we continue to use that because it's a very simple thing. It also requires a signature that you have, and I know that's an issue with Greg, that we need to confirm that we have incurred that mileage, and we have been at that meeting. Of course, the meetings that we're at are going to be recorded in the minutes, but still, that forum was very useful. And I think it would be useful to have us to do it again, to bring it back. And you get one for each
I did
month.
it once, and I really liked that spreadsheet that they had, because it basically did all the math for you.
Yeah. I can't see it, yeah.
Yes.
Cynthia emailed us all, or at least
Yeah.
me today, with that spreadsheet.
Yeah,
Cynthia? Somebody did.
we did get the email with that in there. They modified it until they got the right one. I had sent in a copy of the.
I haven't received that email, so.
Okay. I sent out one of the original ones that we had previously, so they could use it as a template.
What email address did you send it to? Did it come from you, Greg?
Cynthia had sent that out.
Yeah, well, she may have my own wrong address,
Okay, well, we'll make sure.
because I didn't see it, and I looked at my emails this evening, and I didn't see it, so. But that form was very useful. It's good for a month. For the month in question, it indicates what meetings we've attended, what mileage we've incurred, so. And it has a signature block on it so that we sign that we've actually incurred those expenses. So. And I know, yeah, I think that's an issue. We need to make sure
Thanks for the feedback.
that we're verifying our signatures.
If you want to give me your email address, I'll forward the one I got to you. I have just a hard copy of it. So I'm sure that they have an electronic copy of it.
Or if you've got a printer that has a scanner on it, you can do print the PDF.
I could do that as well. This is it right here. And I can go ahead and scan this all in and send it out. Unless you've got the electronic version. Greg, do you have the electronic version of this?
I'm not sure. I'll have to see what that is.
And I also didn't get that email. Review checklist.
Yeah. This sheet?
No, the other one, the second one down on your,
The review process.
Which one?
you turned it over, it's on that one.
County Planning Commissioners, does it?
Oh, this one right here, yeah.
Identify.
I can scan that in. I'll get that one out to everybody. Now, this is just a checklist that was designed when Bob Lewis was chairman a number of years ago. And it was something that gave you kind of an idea of what to look at for the packet review process. So, any other questions or anything that we need to cover that you can think of?
Yeah, I didn't get a copy of that, of the spreadsheet, so
Okay.
I didn't get that email. So you either have the wrong email for me or he does have the wrong email for me.
I'll make sure you get it, and I'll make sure that Cynthia has it as well.
And
I got too many papers here. Here we go. Let me have your email address, and I'll forward it out tonight.
Greg, we're going to go back and Greg, we're going to go back and straighten out last year's, is that correct? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I believe that through the first half of the year that most, if not all, were paid, and, you know, certainly we might have missed some of those, but let us know if we missed some of those earlier in the year as well. But it was mostly second half of the year after.
Yeah. Well, it looks like I had a month or two was all. So, according to what the county sent me in terms of 1099.
Okay.
Greg, you turned, I gave you mine at the last meeting, you turned that in? Yes. Thank you.
Okay, I think this ends everything I wanted to do on a work session. So I would entertain a meeting to adjourn.
I motion that we adjourn this meeting.
Okay, we have a motion to adjourn,
Second.
and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting's adjourned. For the packet?
No, the one you said Bob Lewis put together, something about reviewing.